Hello, listeners. This is Wayne, and we are Scalability Sherpa. Today, we're doing pair programming with Abe and Quinn, getting set up with Vagrant.
Yeah, so the problem that we were having is that we're trying to load test a particular application. We had a server set up, uh, but we didn't want to have that particular server available at all times. It's just not, it's very difficult when we're all programming independently, and we don't want to incur EC2 costs. We don't want to create a cloud instance, and it becomes expensive. So the solution that we have here is Vagrant. Vagrant will, with a few commands, you can create a virtual server in your computer, and you can test the developer tools that you're trying to test. So here we are.
Yeah, so that was Abe. He has already set up Vagrant. I have not, so he's going to walk me through the process.
All right, so first step, we go into the GitHub repo, and we're going to be able to we're going to clone the repo, and in there, it's going to contain a Vagrant file.
So which repo am I going to?
You're going to the Scalability Sherpa's repo.
Okay.
And that's under Sherpa chat.
Yeah. Sherpa chat. All right. So here I'm going to clone down the entire repo. And so what am I going to do next?
So the next thing you're going to make sure that you don't already have Vagrant installed. So in your terminal, you can do Vagrant-V.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like you don't have Vagrant installed. Your terminal does not seem to have found it. So you can go to vagrant.com and download the installation so we can actually be able to use the tools. Well, apparently vagrant.com is not the correct one. So just Google for the correct Vagrant.
Vagrant load. Okay.
So it'll just be Vagrant, period. Okay. Yeah, there we go. And enter. There, yes, that's the correct one. Vagrantup.com.
Vagrantup.com. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and download this.
You can see that there's different versions depending on what we are running. So let's go ahead and start downloading it, and we can talk about conceptually, like later on when you're thinking about this, is that if you have different developers with different machines, like somebody's running Windows, somebody's running Debian, somebody's running, for example, Mac OS 10, they can all pretty much have a VM that has the same parameters and be able to test a particular load on that particular VM. And in this instance, we can see the performance degradation of whenever the VM is running out of resources.
Awesome. So it seems like Vagrant is a quick way to spin up a virtual machine and also to pull out data, whereas other solutions you'd have to install a lot of monitoring tools as well. Is that right, or is that?
It kind of, yeah. So it's similar to, yeah, very 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 similar to that. But also we need a virtual machine or a way to spin up a virtual machine. There's different commercial and open source options. One of them will be VMware, which is a commercial version, and another one will be VirtualBox. So in this case, do you have VirtualBox installed?
I do have VirtualBox. Yeah, it's really helpful when you're spinning up Docker instances.
Yeah, definitely. So right now at home, if you don't have VirtualBox installed, while it's downloading, we can go and see what VirtualBox is. It's free. It's open source. I highly recommend it. and it's a simple download, a one-click download.
Yep. So this is the process, and boom.
And it'll be the same thing.
Okay. So where are we at with Vagrant? A couple seconds left.
Vagrant comes with like a few. The documentation for Vagrant is very good. There's it tells you a lot of interesting things about it and how to use it. But at the end of the day, doing it yourself is more vital for your improvement as a developer, just because referencing it and having that war story will be more beneficial.
Yeah, this looks pretty awesome in terms of documentation and just kind of following along. Just like Vagrant has finished downloading, let's go ahead and install. Walk through the process. Looks pretty straightforward. Go with the defaults.
It's a good password right there.
All right, installation was successful. So let's go ahead and start it up.
So Vagrant is one of those things that lives in your system, similar to how Docker might live, like the non-GUI version of Docker for those old timers out there. But maybe we'll see Vagrant. Now we have 1.8.5 installed.
Awesome.
So maybe when you see this video, we'll have a different version, but it'll be the same concept. So we'll go back to our terminal, and we go into the file that we just downloaded, and we can see that there's going to be a Vagrant folder. That's actually the Vagrant installation.
Oh, here we go. A Vagrant file.
A Vagrant file, yeah. So typically the .vagrant folder should not be included in the repo. You should put it in the git ignore. And I guess I made a mistake. I should have removed it. But for next time, I'll make sure to remove that .vagrant. So this is the initial installation of what the Vagrant tool will be doing. Basically, the first the config.vm.box, that's telling Vagrant to download that image from that repository, the Vagrant repository location. And then it's going to be opening port 5000 locally, and it's going to put a hole on port 5000 on the VM so you can access the resources there. So at the end, you'll be able to say localhost port 5000, and it's going to reroute to that VM's port 5000, and you're going to have access to the application. The third line there, the config VM sync folder, that's telling it that you want to be able to mount anything that's in the root directory to that particular folder in the VM. So whenever you spin up the VM, you're going to have a /var/www/project, and it's going to contain all the files in your particular directory.
Okay, so everything that we see here will be thrown into the virtual machine into this directory.
Yes, and it will be a live sync. So there's going to be anything that changes locally will change there.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah, it's very convenient. And you go all the way to the bottom, and you can see that all these are comments. There's a lot of pre-built comments, so you can actually learn how to do things. The provisioning shell script here, what we're doing, we're going to do an apt-get update, so Linux will get all the current repositories, and then it's gonna do an apt-get install Node.js. So it will be installing Node.js.
Awesome. So Node is going to be on the virtual machine, so we can run our Node application.
Correct. I think we might also want to do apt./get install y and install npm, because npm will not be installed by default.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and add that here. npm, just like that.
Correct.
All right.
We can revisit this later if we make a mistake. But from the top of my head, that's what it is. So now what we need to do, we go back over here, we do Vagrant up,
just like this.
Correct. And it's going to look for that particular file, and it looks like it found the file.
Yeah.
And now it's downloading the installation. It looks like it's going to take 29 minutes, so we're going to cut out here, and then we're going to resume once it's done. But before we do that, Wayne, do you have any questions about this process? I know, the language that I'm using, maybe I haven't practiced a lot of it, so maybe it might not be like accurate.
No,
this will get you there.
I think this was pretty clear. So just from my understanding, I'm going to describe the process. Then you can give me some corrections if anything's not really indicative of what's happening. So our goal is to be able to create a virtual machine that has all of our files from our project. And so one solution is a product called Vagrant. We went ahead and we downloaded it from Vagrant's site. We had this repo that already had a Vagrant file inside of it, but a Vagrant file sets up some configuration options where we're going to get the virtual machine operating system from, where we're going to attach ports, and then how we're going to, and then what and how we're going to load into the Vagrant box, what files and folders. And then at the end, we have some explanation of what applications we're going to load into this new operating system. And that seems to be what we're doing right now. And once we run Vagrant up, that whole process starts. And it is quite a process. So we'll cut out now and come back in just a couple of minutes.
Yep, awesome.
All right.